There is a lot to do in Stardew Valley, especially at the beginning of the game. It can seem maybe a little bit overwhelming even with how many tasks you have to complete, how little energy you have, and how seemingly little time you have as well. Whether you're brand new to the game or revisiting this game after a very long time since new updates are coming, I have compiled 10 tips to help you maximize your day at the very beginning of the game when, like I mentioned, energy is limited. So here's some tips to help you make the most out of it so you can start making some money and getting your farm really rolling and growing. So the very first tip I'm going to tell you is do not clear the grass on your farm until you have built a silo. The silo is not very much money and you should be able to get it relatively early in the game, but by leaving your grass on your farm until you have the silo will allow you to use your scythe to cut the grass, and it will actually store some of the cut grass as hay, which you can later use to feed your animals once you build a coop. It is really helpful because it definitely saves you a lot of money and helps you keep your animals fed, which can get pretty expensive actually. Number 2 is of course the crop, chop, swish, fish method, and that means that you are going to tend to your crops every day. Again, this is at the very early of the game where sometimes watering your crops uses almost all your energy for the day. So once you hit level 1 foraging, which you get by either foraging items or chopping down trees, you can have access to the field snack recipe. So again, after you're done tending to your crops every day, I recommend spending the rest of your day chopping down trees, splitting evenly between maple, oak, and pine so that you can collect all of the seeds that you need to create a field snack. The field snack will allow you to keep farming and keep your energy up and extend your days. Again, in the first week or two, there's not a lot of energy to go around, so this will help you maximize your time. Where the swish comes in, if you are running low on energy and you don't have enough to chop down another tree, you can actually shake trees once you get level 1 foraging, and sometimes they'll drop a seed. So sometimes you can get that extra field snack with no extra energy expended. After you've exhausted that avenue, I recommend ending your day with fishing because you can eat some of the fish that you collect, and it's a good way to round out the rest of your day. So why was chopping all that wood so important? Well, it is setting us up for tip 3, 4, and 5, which are going to be a huge benefit in the first month or two of Stardew Valley. So, number 3 is repairing the bridge on the beach. It will allow you access to much more valuable beach items that will allow you to grow your money and income without expending any energy. But since you have limited slots in your backpack at the start, it can be quite annoying to run back and forth from the beach to your farm to sell everything. Well, here's the 4th tip, and that is building a chest on the beach. So here is the 2 spots that you can typically build it where the NPCs will not walk over it and destroy them. And it is really useful because if you forget to empty your backpack before going to the beach, you can put some of those items into the chest until you're ready to sell them later. Once you have a larger backpack, you may not need the chest on the beach, but I still typically leave mine there just in case, or move it back to your farm. Either way, chests are never not going to be useful. And then my last beach tip is to utilize the beach for not only fishing, but crab pots. It will take you a while to unlock the crab pots where you can craft them or buy them at Willie's shop, which is located south of the docks. But when you get the crab pots, it is a really good way to increase your fishing level passively. Every time you catch something in the crab pots, it will add a little bit of experience to your fishing skill. And that is a good way to start building up that fishing skill really early without having to spend all of your time and energy fishing. We all know that the fishing minigame can be a little bit tricky, especially at the start. So if you can level up your fishing skill without having to actually play the minigame, well, to me, that is a huge win and a huge benefit early game. Remember, the quicker you start this, the more exponential that benefit will be. So for tip number 6, we just talked about your limited space in your backpack, and I've seen some guides really debate whether it's worth it to do this or not, but I have always upgraded to at least the second biggest backpack as soon as possible. It costs 2,000 gold, which seems like a lot, but it doesn't truly take that long to get it. And I find that it can really start to exponentially grow the money that you are able to make. For example, if you go into the mine, you are going to get so many different items that will quickly fill up your backpack. By having that second row, you don't have to choose between which resources to bring home to sell and which ones to unfortunately drop and leave in the mine. That already increases the value of going into the mine by, well, double, because you can now effectively use that time to gather in as many items and make as much money as possible. Same goes when you're foraging. If it's getting later at night and you don't have time to run back to your farm one more time, you don't have to choose between the items you pick up, and you can sell them all, which again is going to really help you start to make money and unlock some of the other features of your farm that's going to increase the income flow. Number 7, this one kind of piggybacks off the backpack. As you can see with all these tips, they all really work together, and the more efficient and strategic you are, the better, because all of these mechanics work together to really start getting you to the point where you can be a Stardew millionaire. So my tip to you is to save every resource. As you can see here, I have multiple chests on my farm and I save everything. And there's a few reasons that I do that. It may seem like it's actually limiting your income to do this, but there are so many quests and scenarios where you need specific items and multiples of these items that if you don't save them, it's actually going to set you back even further. Of course, if you need some extra cash, you can sell a little bit of each item if you really need the cash flow, but I'm telling you, eventually you are going to get to the point where you will need X amount of this item, X amount of this item, X amount of this item, and if you don't have it, it's going to be really, really annoying and time consuming to forage it. So save everything, and then if you get to the point where you have, let's say, 100 emeralds and you truly will not need that many, you can maybe sell 40 of them for some extra profit. Number 8. So this one you won't have access to immediately. It takes a while for this area to open up, but there is a area that's kind of at the north of Stardew Valley, and it's the train tracks, and there is a lot of extra resources to farm and clear there. So until you have your entire farm cleared out, you're probably not going to want to utilize this as much, but keep it in mind that if you need some extra fiber, extra wood, extra rocks, that area will slowly grow these resources, and it's a really good way to get some extra raw materials under your belt. You're going to need a ton of wood and fiber later in the game. They're both very useful. So the sooner you get in the habit of starting to clear that area, the more raw materials you're going to have to work with later. So before we get to the last 2 tips, make sure that you like and subscribe, and also ask any questions you have about Stardew Valley in the comments. I will try to answer every single one possible because I want to help you have the most fun and the most success with your farm. So number 9, this one is a pretty basic tip, but some people do forego this, and I've seen it in a lot of farms where people don't build scarecrows. So scarecrows not only help you prevent crows from coming and eating your crops in the morning, which is a random event where you could lose some crucial early game income, but once you start having enough money to plant multiple melons, cauliflower, pumpkins, if you have a crow that eats one of your middle crops, it is going to prevent them from growing into the super crops. Now, the super crops are really valuable because they will take 9 of your basic crops, make them into 1, and usually you end up between 12 and 17 crops harvested instead of 9. Plus, I just think the scarecrows add a little bit of charm and cuteness to your farm, so that's never a bad thing either. All right, my last tip in this video is do not waste your money on the basic sprinkler. I promise you it is not worth it. The basic sprinkler only gives you 4 squares of watering, and for how much resources it takes to craft one, you are better off waiting for the next level of sprinkler, which will actually save you a lot of time and money. I have so many more tips. I recently started a new farm and I just realized how many things I do to maximize my time. So if you want more tips, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely post another 10 or 20 tips, and then we can keep you learning, keep you growing, and keep you having fun on Stardew Valley. So we'll see you at the next video. Have a great day.